Hey guys, what's up? It's your man Pete. Just thought I would do a video talking about how you can get into home ownership a lot quicker, a lot speedier, and a lot more effectively. Typically during the whole home buying process, the journey of saving up your down payment, whether it's 5%, 10%, or 20%, takes a hell of a long time. And the reason this is because there's just so many things that we have to pay for. You've got student loan debt, you've got to pay for your normal living expenses. Of course, there's so many different ways for you to spend money and waste money these days. But I'm hoping this video might give you some tactical and practical ideas for you to speed up the process of getting into home ownership. The truth is, most of the time when people are buying a condo or a house, these are related to lifestyle things, getting married or having a kid, or it's just sort of the right age for you. I don't recommend people buying properties too early, especially when they can't afford it, because it's a really big responsibility. It's a medium to long-term decision, and it takes a lot of time and effort to save up all that money to go through the bidding process to actually buy a house. Let's just say it takes a lot, guys. So you need to have the money and the motivation to make it happen. But thankfully in this video, if you stick with us all the way until the very end, I'm going to give you some things that you can implement today that are going to get you there sooner and faster, essentially to hack your way there. So we'll see you guys on the other side right after this. Okay, and we're back. And I know what most of you are thinking. When you hear the word hack, you're thinking of some hooded, mysterious figure who's faceless, who's trying to break into websites and databases to steal your information and your identity. Sure, that's one way to think about it, but that's not exactly what I mean. Hacks in the modern sense means the quickest, speediest, and most effective way to get from point A to point B, and getting you from point A, which is living in your parents' basement, to point B, which is owning your own condo or house. So in this video, I'm going to go through 7 things that you can do immediately or in the next couple of years if you're not quite ready to buy yet, to prepare yourself and speed up the process, and who knows, maybe a big wad of cash is just going to land on your lap. And of course, with inflation the way it is and home prices just skyrocketing because of limited supply, it's imperative that you start planning and thinking a little bit more ahead, whether you're looking to buy something in 2022 or maybe a little bit further into the future. And we'll get into it right now. Okay, so number 1, so use your RRSPs. So this is one strategy. If you've been working at a job for a while and you've been paying into your RRSPs every single year, then you can actually use up to $35,000 from that amount to put towards your down payment on a property. And this is without penalty. And you get 15 years to pay back that amount. And then if they make money in the property eventually, after they sell this first property that they purchased a few years ago, they will end up paying it back with those funds of the equity appreciation in their property. So it's a really great program that's offered to people. So what we usually see is people will cobble together their savings, their stocks, investments. They'll bring together their RRSPs. They'll cobble that all together. And then they'll have sort of a total asset portfolio that they can use towards buying their first property. Because at least on your principal residence, the one you're going to live in, however much it goes up, it's completely tax-free. That's all for you to keep. Unless you rent it out for a period of time, but then of course there's capital gains potentially applied during that time when you've rented out your property. Okay, number 2. It's simple and it's basic, but you have to save more. You have to find more ways to be creative to save money. Spending money on takeout, on Uber Eats, which is incredibly expensive, like a couple of times a week, is probably not advisable. And we are now living in a highly inflationary environment. And so, holding on to cash or just depending on your job, which is only giving you pay increases of like 4%, which is hardly keeping up with inflation. So whatever savings you have, it would be advisable to put it into some sort of investments, maybe ETF, some stocks, some dividend paying investments that will actually help you increase and grow your portfolio on a monthly or yearly basis until you're ready to purchase something. So in an inflationary environment, as we can see, real estate is going up like crazy. And that's part of the reason, but another reason is just there's a low supply, as we talk about a lot on our channel. So even if you've got a few $1,000s, it would be advisable for you to put it into some sort of ETF or stock or even a mutual fund if you feel more comfortable with that. And for those who are more inclined to higher risk and reward, it doesn't hurt to put some money into crypto as well too, because you never know what's going to happen in a year from now. But the whole goal and the idea is just to sock away some money if you've got a little bit extra, after taking care of your monthly living costs and expenses, to let that money work for you somewhere, because we know we're in an inflationary environment. So I think it's entirely possible that a few $1,000s could be worth a little bit more when it comes time for you to sell. It's just a way for you to accelerate your money, hack your way to getting that down payment ready so you can purchase your first condo or house. And you have to think sometimes, instead of going out your third night this week and hanging out with the boys and spending $100 on drinks and food, that $100 could actually be invested and be worth more, a year, 2 years from now when you're actually ready to purchase a home. Now, it's not going to have any major impact unless you've got a lot of money to deploy and to invest here, in which case you don't really need this hack or this video. But the simple idea is the opportunity cost, right? So instead of spending that money on frivolous things, you're putting that money to work to help you build your wealth and your future so that you can buy real estate, which is really going to preserve and help you grow your wealth long term. Okay, so here's another simple and obvious hack for some people, which is to sort of open your mind, to think about different sort of opportunities and different possibilities. Everyone is moving around all over the place. It's already happening. Buying cheaper and buying further out away from the city is potentially a really good strategy. It's a really good hack. I know you don't want to leave your walking neighborhood and all the entertainment downtown, but truthfully speaking, a few months into the pandemic, people were already thinking, I don't need to live downtown. I don't need to pay these exorbitant downtown prices. And so a lot of people bought condos or houses in the GTA. But it's not that it's cheaper, but you just get better value. So instead of a 1-bedroom downtown, you might get a 1+ den with parking. And of course, the biggest hack to modern work life is, of course, the internet and a solid Wi-Fi connection. So you could literally work from anywhere these days. And it totally explains why Hamilton has actually blown up as a tier 2 city compared to Toronto, because it's just so expensive and unaffordable in the city. This happened with the previous generations too, the boomers and the Gen X's. It's the same thing over and over. So the moment it gets more expensive, everything starts spreading out across the city. And then the eventual net benefit is that you're buying something with more space, which in turn leads to better value in the future. Of course, even in the suburbs, it's still possible for you to buy close to a subway station or a highway or even a train station. It is still possible to live without a car in the suburbs. That way you can save even more money. And a lot of people have frankly done that. Okay, so number 4, getting married and forming households. Now, I'm not going to say you should get married or have kids just so you can buy a house. Definitely not saying that, and I definitely don't recommend that. This one is clearly a very simple hack, because when you are ready to get married, when you're ready to have kids, simply necessitates that you need more than a room and a shared kitchen with your roommate. Increasingly here in the city, it's becoming more and more difficult for single individuals to buy a property on their own. We're starting to get to the point where even doctors and lawyers are struggling to save up for the down payment to be able to buy a property by themselves. And if you look at it from a lender's perspective, it's less risky for them to lend to you or to give you a bigger mortgage if you've got 2 incomes coming in that are relatively stable. I see it firsthand. I don't see too many people under 25 years old buying properties without the parents actually helping or actually buying the property and giving it to their kids. Most of the times it's more mature adults, sort of late 20s, early 30s, who are thinking of buying property, and especially if they're getting married and about to have a family. A house is a very important topic of conversation, and I have clients who sometimes buy the house before they actually get married. Okay, number 5, of course, it's simple. You got to make more money. You got to get a better job, have a better title, have more responsibilities, and increase your pay. I actually did a video about the Great Resignation happening right now, and I actually had a really good comment from one of my viewers. He talked about how you get a significant pay increase is by moving jobs. And I experienced this personally in my 20s as well too, by moving around to different jobs. That actually increased my pay more significantly than if I stayed at a job for years and years on end. So the idea is that you need to keep improving yourself. You need to keep building skills that are valuable in the marketplace, and companies or agencies are willing to pay you more for them. Because a few percent a year, if you're getting that, is simply not cutting it in this market. You're not going to be able to save up enough money because the money keeps getting devalued in this sort of inflationary environment. But then something you should definitely keep in mind is when you do move jobs, you do start with a probationary period at your job. So I don't recommend that you buy a property during that time. You want to maybe wait a few months until things really settle down and you're past that probationary period. And I should also point out from a lender or a bank's perspective that it's important for them to understand where you're working, right? So if your job is with the government of Canada versus somebody who is working with a brand new funded startup and unfunded startup, they always look at it from a risk perspective because the banks don't want to take the property back. They're not in the business of taking properties, unlike Zillow. And so they just want to make sure that your monthly salary is able to cover the mortgage, cover other living expenses, cover the heat. Heat's really important here in the Great White North. So your ability to pay, your ability to earn income is really important, especially if the bank's going to give you $1 million of mortgage funds. Okay, number 6. Buying pre-construction. This has got to be one of the biggest hacks for home buying over the last 20 years here in Toronto and the GTA. which is buying properties off floor plan. So yes, it is a bit of speculation, but what it is it's people wanting to buy new properties in new areas so that they don't have to live in an old 100-year-old home that requires hundreds of thousands of dollars in renovation. And frankly, this is how I started in my mid to late 20s, which was putting money into pre-construction because I wasn't able to get a mortgage at the time, but 3-4 years later, it was easier for me to get a mortgage if I needed to. And of course, it's all about the payment deposit structure, right? So it's like you don't have to put up 20% for the down payment to get the mortgage right away. It gets staggered out across like 1 to 3 years. And so it's like a simpler process, right? You take care of your down payment, and believe me, the motivation is there when you sign these contracts and you're committed to a property. You're going to find every which way possible to make sure you have the funds to meet those deposits, because otherwise the rugs can get pulled out from under you. But this has created a staggering amount of wealth for people here in the Toronto and the GTA region without even lifting a finger. All they had to do was write checks. So using money to make money. I say this all the time that, you need to have two things when it comes to property. You need to have money and motivation. For some people, they have the money, but they don't have the motivation to get it done. But when I have people who are extremely motivated, they will find a way to get it done. They'll drive Uber, they'll take a second job, they'll freelance. They'll do whatever it takes because they've committed, they signed on the dotted line, and they know that in a couple of years' time, they better make sure they have all the money and be able to qualify for this mortgage. Otherwise, they're going to lose the property. So buying pre-construction is one of the strongest ways for you to destroy complacency and demolish procrastination. It just moves you forward in life. And I definitely recommend that strategy to anyone who's not ready to close on a property immediately. But of course, the pre-construction game is a lot harder these days. It's hard to get units. There's a limited supply, and people are literally fighting over each other to get units. So probably resale is still better. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. We've got number 7, which is the biggest one. This is the one that's literally going to change everything for you if you want to get into a home or condo as soon as possible. And of course, yes, it's family help. And I saved this one for last specifically because it's just that important, right? Real estate is generational wealth. It gets passed on from the previous generations down to the younger generations. It's really difficult to save for a down payment these days because you've got so many things you got to pay for. Student loan debt, your living expenses, and everything is getting more expensive. Of course, you didn't need to take that extra vacation to Vegas and blow your money at the craps tables either. But I digress. And again, as always, it's always a lifestyle triggering thing, right? So when you get married or when you're about to have kids, your parents become suddenly very generous and very wealthy. Like they've got this money saved up and it's here you go buy a property, or here you go get a bigger space for your family, or here you go, we want you to buy a house near us so we can help look after the grandkids. And this is probably the most underrated reason for why the real estate market is the way it is. It's just the money is coming down, it's flowing from up top. Either it's coming through from the parents as straight up cash, or they're selling stocks or investments to give it to you, or they're refinancing out of their current property, the home that they live in, give you the funds and the money so you can go buy something of your own for your own family. So we see all types of numbers, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 plus, from parents to help the kids with the down payment so that they can get into this ever expanding and growing real estate market here in the Toronto region. Because of course your parents, if they've owned property over the last 5, 10, 15 years, they have definitely done exceptionally well, especially if it's a house. And so they're sitting on a ton of equity and they can afford to share and pass it on to their kids. And they were going to give it to you anyway, so might as well give it to you earlier so you can enjoy it and buy your own place. So this is the single biggest hack that's going to get you into the game a lot faster and a lot sooner. And I've seen it all the time. A lot of people don't even think about buying a place yet. They're just sort of, head down at their jobs, working, doing their thing. And then all of a sudden the parents are like, I think you should go buy something. Here's $50,000. And then that becomes the triggering event for them to say, okay, all right, I guess I'm looking for a home now. I wasn't really ready, but I'll take the money. So I don't know what kind of conversations you can have with your family, but oftentimes, yeah, it's just a wad of cash just coming to you and you're like, wow, this is unbelievable. Now I can afford to buy a place. Sometimes what parents will also do is they'll co-sign or they'll guarantee the mortgage will be paid, but normally it's just cleaner and easier for them just to give you cash as a gift, and then you can go apply that towards your down payment, and all of a sudden you're a homeowner now. And it's the simplest, not the easiest, but the simplest way for you to hack this process of buying your first property. All right, guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I missed any other hacks that could potentially be helpful for the viewers on this show, because we've seen it time and time again with our clients where parents are dropping money on their kids and telling them to go buy something even before they're ready. So if this situation perfectly describes you and you're ready to look and you want somebody to guide you and walk you through and navigate this tricky and unsettling real estate market we got going on in the Greater Toronto Area, then you definitely want to give us a shout here at Selling Toronto. You're going to get top-notch service and top-notch advice and guidance on how to direct your future with real estate. So if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button, give us a like, leave us a comment. Of course, if you need direct personal service, you know how to contact us. Email is below. The office number is also in the description. And just make sure you engage with the channel so that more people can find and discover this video and learn how they can get into the home ownership game as soon as possible before things get even more expensive. That's pretty much what we're projecting for 2022. So happy buying, happy selling, and happy real estate investing. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. To go through the bidding process, and it definitely takes